my book, The Lost Science of Money. And what we point out is that the methodology of economics in general follows that theoretical approach. They think theory is all you need. Well, theory can be important, and it's a part of learning. It's a part of going forward. But theory is always subject to the facts. If you have theories that are contradicted by facts, it's not the facts that you should ignore, it's the theory. Unfortunately, economics has gone in the other direction. They have really concentrated too much on theory. And at times they can be good, by the way, especially in microeconomics and determining the cost of widgets and that type, some what's called microeconomics. Where they are horrible and dangerous is in macroeconomics. And that means, like, what should the economy be doing? What should be the purposes? What should the monetary policy be? What are the big questions involving these major decisions about purposes? And how do we evaluate whether a policy is working or not? You have to look. You have to observe the results. Now, when you look at the results of the Federal Reserve System, it's been horrible. It's been one disaster after another. They're directed by law to do two things only. That is, keep a stable purchasing value of the dollar and make sure that full employment is pursued. They have not done either of them. They flouted the law on both issues. How do they do it? How do they get away with it? They control the money. And that power usually can control society. Now, it's not done with guns. It's done with definitions. And when you're ready, I'll go into some of that.
I just want to ask you a couple of things about greater good, that concept of the greater good.
Oh, yeah.
How do you respond to people who may be thinking, look, you want to bring this power back to the Congress?
Yeah.
But the Congress is often funded by lobbyists. We have anointed candidates, not just real ones. We have anointed candidates. We have party favorites. Congress is not what we thought it was either.
Congress is not acting correctly, right?
So if we bring the monetary power back to Congress in an unstable or, let's say, a dysfunctional Congress where people are not acting in the best interest either, even though they're supposed to be representatives of the people, how do you apply the new monetary policy inside that condition?
You're right, and there's another factor, and that is that the media is not reporting what some of these guys are actually doing and the harm they're doing, and they're not challenging them, and we've seen so much lying, just outright lies going on, which further decreases our confidence in the Congress. Well, there are a couple of things you have to understand. The American Monetary Institute is interested in monetary reform. We've studied the history enough, the history of money, and in my own case, I've had to do what no economists do, and that is, I had to examine approximately 800 monetary source documents, books, materials, of which about 400 were good enough to end up in my bibliography of the book, The Lost Science of Money. And when I go to the Congress, I usually start by asking them, how can I come here to tell you what to do with the monetary system when you have the ability to bring in the most respected experts and people who have supposedly studied this and get information from them, and yet I come here and tell you to do something different. Why? And at that point, I take out the bibliography or show it on a screen very slowly, and they can go down the lists and see what was involved. And I tell them, I will put this bibliography up against the bibliography of the monetary bibliography of any of your advisors. In fact, I'm comfortable putting it up against the combined bibliography of all of them. So we've done the work, and that is such a necessary precondition to do the work. Economists have not. They don't study monetary questions in any great detail. And the methodology they use prohibits them from understanding when there's a problem, because they're looking for theories rather than looking at what works. What is the effect of doing that stuff? And these things have reached an incredible level where, for example, now they're talking about it's necessary to do some harsh cutting back of things, cut the debt, cut expenditures, because we can't afford to spend money. These are so wrong and have been demonstrated in history to be so wrong that it's incredible that they're even being discussed, and by a president who should be looking in other directions.
Do you think that a president, no matter what party they come from, has the ability to challenge the Fed?
Yes, the president has a lot of power. He just has to know what to do. Now, one of the very worrisome things about our present president, about a week or two after he got elected, which I thought was great. Oh, okay, we got a partially black guy in there. That's wonderful. That's progress, you know. And then he told us that he enjoyed the company of economists. And that was about a week or two after he got elected. When I heard that, I said, uh-oh, watch out. This is he's a smart guy, but he's been taken in by the normal economic jargon. And he thinks that the things that they believe have really been tested because they keep repeating them over and over again, and that they work. And that's just false. It's just false. There's no basis in actual fact for much of their theory. What has happened is that economics has in a sense, turned into a type of religion.
I agree with you. Absolutely agree with you.
You do?
Absolutely.
God, where did you learn all this?
I've been around, too, for a long time looking at what's next and what should be next and why.
Well, we have to get together when I'm in California next time.
I would love it.
Oh, that'd be great.
The next question here is, Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Prize for the Grameen Bank.
Yeah.
And that model of using credit to get businesses started and to be able to create money and industry and to help expand jobs. Now, this worked in developing nations. I'm not sure it would work in the U.S. given our present system.
I really, you'd have to make people a lot poorer first, and that may be happening.
But I wanted to say that his interest of making credit a human right has a particular application for the ending of poverty. But then he went to Gordon Brown's home in England, I think it was shortly after the Nobel, and I guess through discussion now wants a one world currency. And it made me very depressed when I heard that.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
He's a good guy.
Yeah, I know.
I attended one of his talks here in Chicago. He's a brilliant guy.
Yep.
And he certainly deserves that Nobel. And I talked to him after his talk and told him, you know, you're trying to do this on a micro level, and the American Monetary Institute attacks this at the macro level of fixing the existing system, which is wrong. Now, as far as a world currency, not going to happen for a while. When we get to the Star Trek level, you know, maybe at that point something along those lines will develop. But there's too much differences between the nations in their peoples, the education levels, all the production. Money is a creature of the law, and that, at this point in time, leaves it in national hands. Always.
I have another question about that part where you say it's a creature of the law. Is it not a store of value? Do you agree with that or not agree with that?
That the store of value function was added to money by Stanley Jevons in the late 1800s.
Okay.
No, it's not a true necessity. The store of value idea, in a way, puts forward the gold standard as something good. But money should be relatively stable, but it need not be a store of value. Aristotle gave it to us in one sentence in the 4th century BC. Yeah, man, here's what he said. He said, money, quote, this is an actual quote, money exists not by nature, but by law, unquote. So what's he said? There's a number of key things that he said there. First of all, money is not